Chapter 363 But, I don't care, I love you. Jian Wen suddenly turned serious, and said, Second young master, every direct male disciple of our mysterious underworld sect has to undergo a special awakening ritual of his martial soul when he's 15 years old. This awakening is extremely important to you. Once it's completed, your martial soul might completely evolve. If it evolves to the Swanwu shield, you'll become the heir to the sect leader. The martial soul that was passed down in the mysterious underworld sect was the shield of the Swanwu turtle. There was a secret that only those within the sect knew, the evolution of the shield of the Swanwu turtle. They only developed this ritual after many attempts by the ancestors of the sect. Jian Wen knew this secret not only because he was Shu Sanqi's personal servant, but also because 5 generations of his family had served under the mysterious underworld sect. They were true, core disciples. Even though they couldn't undergo the awakening of their martial souls, they still held a very high status in the sect. This ritual was very crucial in evolving the shield of the Swanwu turtle to the Swanwu shield. This ritual was carried out when he was 15, and still a virgin. Regarding this, the mysterious underworld sect had always kept it a secret. After all, it wasn't a very glorious thing. The mysterious underworld sect was reclusive. To carry on the survival of the sect, they had no choice but to do this. When this time came, they would always choose a girl from a good family and offer her a huge sum of money if she was willing to have sexual intercourse with the chosen male disciple. If the girl was willing to join the mysterious underworld sect, she could at least become his concubine, and possibly his wife if their relationship developed well. If she wasn't willing, she could leave with that sum of money. This had long become a rule of the mysterious underworld sect. As the most likely candidate to experience an awakening of his martial soul, Shu Sanqi was selected. A virgin was also picked out for him after a strict selection process by the mysterious underworld sect. Not only did the girl have to be a virgin, but she had to be a soul master that wasn't older than Shu Sanqi, too. In addition, she had to be intelligent and beautiful. Right now, everything had been prepared. The only thing left was for Shu Sanqi to enter the room and start the ritual. Shu Sanqi's gaze was a little lost. Of course he recalled that night, or rather, this night. He was only 15 years old then, but he was already very curious about the opposite gender, due to how his family attached such importance to this ritual in his natural development. He was very excited as he entered the room, but it had turned into a huge mistake. At this point, he couldn't remain calm as everything played out again. Okay, young master, you can enter now. Do your best. Jian Wen's serious expression turned playful again. There was even a look of envy and perversion on his face. Young master, I've taken a look for you. This lady is extremely beautiful. Master even mentioned that you can wed her if you like. Shu Sanqi took in a deep breath. As he looked at the door, he started to have mixed feelings. Nanan, I'm coming, he silently said to himself before walking over with big steps. Is the yin-yang love querying valley letting me try again because it wants to reawaken my martial soul again? No, it's testing my sincerity. It's testing what's really important in my heart. What had happened then kept on playing in Shu Sanqi's mind. When he had walked into the room, he had been eager to head to the bed. All he saw was a ravishing young lady who had shut her eyes under the dim lights. It was his first time seeing her. However, he didn't know that she was also, due to several reasons, he had no choice but to do this. He pressed down on Jiang Nanan, but her rigid body was trembling. Shu Sanqi tried a few times, but he didn't succeed. Finally, he decided to try the position that his uncles once joked about. He flipped her over and pressed down from behind. However, he went into the wrong hole, only to find that he was unable to stop, as the evolution process had begun. Shu Sanqi was extremely gifted. The shield of the Swanwu turtle eventually still evolved, but the evolution wasn't complete. It was only a half-completed Swanwu shield. This incident was the reason why Jiang Nanan ostracized him so much. Shu Sanqi also realized that he had made a big mistake, but he couldn't help what had already happened. She left after the incident. When Shu Sanqi saw her again, she was already in Shrek Academy. Right now, Shu Sanqi had mixed feelings as this scene replayed itself in his mind. When he saw Jiang Nanan, he only had a burning passion towards her. However, Jiang Nanan treated him as if he were a brutal beast. Since then, he had gone through a lot before he finally got together with Jiang Nanan. With the help of the sea god's fated blind date, he managed to get Jiang Nanan to accept him. However, he knew that she still hadn't forgotten what had happened, even though she accepted him now. It had also been affecting their relationship. It was only recently that she was willing to hold his hand, hug him, and kiss him. Jiang Nanan had once told Shu Sanqi that she was still emotionally hurt from that incident and needed more time. Right now, Shu Sanqi had to face this girl whose eyes were shut and who was waiting for him quietly. Shu Sanqi pursed his lips tightly and looked into the sky. Right now, his emotions were surging and were about to flow out. Thank you, love querying valley. You let me live this out once again. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm willing to start afresh from here. Thank you. As he spoke, he bowed to the bright moon in the sky. After that, he pushed the door open and walked in. Jian Wen was a little confused at how Shu Sanqi was acting, but still continued to guard the door for him. He stood outside the door and guarded the room. As he entered the room, the lights were as dim as before. Shu Sanqi could still clearly recall that he was excited and nervous. He was excited and nervous when he rushed to the bed. Right now, he was taking slow steps. His body was even trembling. As he was agitated, he clenched his fists tightly. He finally walked in front of the bed. He saw Jiang Nanan waiting silently for destiny, or rather misfortune, to arrive. He lifted his head and forcefully held back his tears. He gently unveiled her and sat beside her on the bed. Jiang Nanan shuddered when she felt someone coming, and she became very tense. Yes. She was still very young then, around 14 years old. I'm really a beast. Shu Sanqi lifted his hand and slapped himself on the face. Pack. Jiang Nanan seemed to be frightened by the sudden noise, and subconsciously opened her eyes. She was very nervous, and looked at Shu Sanqi with a frightened look on her face. Don't be scared. Shu Sanqi gently said. After that, he stood up from the bed and tried to comfort her. Jiang Nanan gently bit her lower lip. She didn't move as she looked at him. Shu Sanqi took in a deep breath. I'm sorry for frightening you. Believe me, I won't let you come to harm. Not now. Not in the future. After hearing his words, Jiang Nanan seemed a little lost. She didn't know what to say as she looked at him. Shu Sanqi squatted down beside her so that he could get a closer look at her face. He gently said, My name is Shu Sanqi. I know that they gave you money to consummate this ritual with me, but I won't do it. I don't want to hurt you. Jiang Nanan was a little stunned. However, her fear and anxiety suddenly disappeared. It was just that Shu Sanqi was still overwhelmed with emotions right now, and didn't discover it. You're Jiang Nanan, am I right? Shu Sanqi asked softly. Jiang Nanan nodded. She was under a blanket as Shu Sanqi pointed at her and said, I'll go to one side. You can put your clothes back on. I think you'll feel safer that way. We can chat afterwards. To put them at ease, I can't leave this room tonight. Jiang Nanan was evidently stunned. But your martial soul has to be cultivated. Shu Sanqi interrupted her. I can't be a beast even if that's the case. I told you that I won't hurt you. Not now. Not in the future. How can the awakening of my martial soul compare to you? So what if it's the Swanwu shield? So what if I become the sect master? They are nothing compared to you. I'm willing to give up everything for you. Even if I can't enter the inner courtyard of Shrek Academy in the future and become a member of Shrek's 7 monsters, I'm still willing. As he spoke, Shu Sanqi stood up and turned around. He walked into a corner and faced the wall. He smiled. The trauma in his heart had finally been removed. After so many years, the trauma, pain and guilt in his heart had finally vanished. Yes. I can give up everything for you, Nanan. I love you. If we can start afresh, I'm willing to use everything I've got to make this right. I'll love you with all my heart so that you'll no longer be traumatized. Tears started to stream down his face as he smiled. I'm done changing. You can come over. Jiang Nanan's voice sounded behind him. Silence. Nothing but silence all around. The moon was shining very brightly on this night. However, Jiang Nanan was feeling very mixed feelings. Right now, she was standing outside a village as she carried something in her arms. Everything around her felt very familiar and clear in her memory. Her heart seemed to be trembling as she felt the surrounding aura. She gently bit her lip as her purple hair flowed behind her head. She looked up at the sun and moon, and silently asked, Why am I back here? Why? Why am I back in this place, where I was once extremely frightened? Is this to remind me of my most painful memory? Is this to make me experience that pain once again? No, I don't want to. Jiang Nanan shook her head forcefully, and her tears flowed down uncontrollably. She would never, ever forget this place. That night, that guy, whose body suddenly started glowing black, brought me so much pain and humiliation. I've been traumatized ever since that experience. Even though that guy, Jiang Nanan was in low spirits as she walked forward, she still clearly remembered that she had sent the sum of money back after receiving it, and immediately left for Shrek Academy. That was because she was too ashamed to see her mother anymore. A few years had passed since then, but she had only communicated with her mother through letters. She also sent some money back to her, but she had never had the courage to return to see her. She was afraid of reliving the pain if she saw her mother. I want to see my mum again and personally pass her money. Although she always claims to be well every time she writes me a letter, is she really well? I'm so foolish. No matter what I've done, Mommy will always love me. She'll forgive me. Mommy, I really miss you. Her tears flowed even more uncontrollably. Her yearning to see her mother seemed to lessen the trauma that she was experiencing. She ran quickly. Even though her abilities had only recovered to the standard of a 3-ring soul master, she was still much faster than other soul masters of the same level, as her martial soul was a soft-bone rabbit. Finally, she saw the place. It was a reputable clinic in the city, which offered the best treatment and rehabilitative services. The reason why she had agreed to that guy's family's request was because her mother. She was getting closer and closer to the clinic. Just like that day, the owner of the clinic was standing at the door. The owner passed her the sum of money and a Swanwu divine pill that only the Chuanming sect had to treat her mother. After she saw her mother consume the Swanwu divine pill from outside the window, she quickly turned and ran away. She was tormented then, and that torment had lasted even until now. Mommy, how are you? She missed her mother incredibly. However, the clinic turned illusory just as Jiang Nanan was about to reach the front door. Everything around it turned illusory. No. Why did you bring me into this illusion, but not let me see my mother? Please, let me see my mother. Jiang Nanan shouted and wailed. After that, she realized that everything in front of her had turned clear again. However, she was no longer able to control her body. The clinic in front of her seemed to turn transparent. Everything distorted, and a thought suddenly appeared in her mind. One day later. What does that mean? Jiang Nanan started to become agitated even before she recovered from her confusion. This was because she finally saw her mother, who was lying on a bed, and appeared very pale. Right now, her mother's body rippled with a black glow. It was the effect of consuming the Swanwu divine pill. Mommy. Jiang Nanan shouted. However, her voice couldn't be heard. At this moment, she saw another person. Another person had walked into her mother's ward. Why is he here? Jiang Nanan was stunned. The person who had walked into the ward was Shu Sanqi. Chen Wen was also following close behind him. Shu Sanqi seemed very puerile, but Jiang Nanan knew that his cultivation was already close to 4 rings. He was stronger than her. Suddenly, Shu Sanqi and Chen Wen started conversing with each other. Is she the mother of that girl? Why is she not here? Chen Wen scratched his head and replied, I don't know. I only heard that her mother was staying here. She sold her body to us because her mother was sick. Her mother has a congenital heart disease and needed our Swanwu divine pill to improve her condition. At the same time, she needs to rest for a long time before she can recover. I think she had no choice, thus she had to. Shu Sanqi clenched his fists tightly and furiously said, why didn't you mention this earlier? She was doing it to save her mother, but As he spoke, he punched the wall next to him. We have to find her no matter what. I need to make amends for my mistake. I'll marry her once I find her. I'm really a jerk. Chen Wen, can you help me lift her up? Chen Wen was stunned. Second young master, what do you want to do? Shu Sanqi said, while the medicinal power of a Swanwu divine pill is mild, it digests very slowly. Furthermore, the longer the time needed for digestion, the weaker the effect of the pill. I can use my soul power to speed it up, so she'll be able to absorb the medicinal power of the pill much more easily. After all, my soul power is complementary to a Swanwu divine pill. Chen Wen hurriedly said, you can't do this. Young master, you've just experienced the second awakening of your martial soul. You can't do this. You'll hurt your vitality. Shu Sanqi was still furious. I have to do it no matter what. I hurt her so badly. What's a little vitality? Since I can't find her now, I'll help take care of her mother first. Chen Wen unwillingly lifted Jiang Nanan's mother up under Shu Sanqi's demands. Jiang Nanan was in a daze as she watched all of this. She muttered to herself, Sanqi. Everything in front of her seemed to suddenly speed up. Jiang Nanan saw Shu Sanqi sitting behind her mother and activating his soul power. Eventually, he fainted, but her mother woke up. She also saw how Shu Sanqi told the clinic personnel to take good care of her mother before giving them a large sum of money. Time passed quickly. The thought that had appeared in her mind earlier surfaced again. 1 week later, Chen Wen came to the clinic with a lot of food and daily necessities. He was visiting her mother on Shu Sanqi's behalf. 2 weeks later, Chen Wen came to visit again. 3 weeks later, every week, Chen Wen would come to visit her mother on Shu Sanqi's behalf. However, he asked her mother not to include any of his visits in her letters to Jiang Nanan. Half a year later, Shu Sanqi personally paid Jiang Nanan's mother a visit. He's actually here to visit Mommy, but I never once returned. Tears streamed down Jiang Nanan's face once again, as she saw how her mother and Shu Sanqi had a pleasant conversation. How Shu Sanqi helped to massage her mother's shoulders and heal her body with his soul power. Jiang Nanan broke down in tears. This idiot. He never once told me anything. He has been helping take care of my mother all these years. Idiot. Fool. Jerk. Why didn't you tell me? Her mother's figure slowly faded away. However, her flushed, red cheeks, her benevolent smile and the affable look in Shu Sanqi's eyes were deeply imprinted on Jiang Nanan's mind. All this are real. It must be real. Sanqi. Everything in front of her suddenly changed. Her surroundings dimmed, and Jiang Nanan was stunned to realize she was lying down on a bed. After this, she heard a familiar voice. I'm sorry for making you so frightened. Trust me, I don't want you to come to any harm. Not now. Not in the future. My name is Shu Sanqi. I know that they gave you some money to consummate this ritual with me, but I won't do it. I don't want to hurt you. You're Jiang Nanan, am I right? Shu Sanqi asked softly. Jiang Nanan nodded. I'll go to one side. You can put your clothes back on. I think you'll feel safer this way. We can chat afterwards. To put them at ease, I can't leave this room tonight. Jiang Nanan was stunned. But your martial soul has to be cultivated. I can't be a beast even if that's the case. I told you that I won't hurt you. Not now. Not in the future. How can the awakening of my martial soul compare to you? So what if it's the Swanwu shield? So what if I become the Sect master? They are nothing compared to you. I'm willing to give up everything for you. Even if I can't enter the inner courtyard of Shrek Academy in the future and become a member of Shrek's 7 monsters, I'm still willing. As she looked at his resolute back and his determined words, Jiang Nanan could no longer keep her tears from flowing. I'm done changing. You can come over now. Shu Sanqi turned around and walked to the bedside, but he panicked when he saw Jiang Nanan tearing up. Nanan, don't cry. Don't worry. I won't do anything to you no matter what. I won't harm you. I guarantee you that I won't touch you. I don't care. Jiang Nanan sobbed. What? Shu Sanqi was in a daze as he watched Jiang Nanan sit up suddenly on the bed. She wasn't wearing any clothes, and her movement revealed her delicate, white shoulders. What did you say? Jiang Nanan suddenly leapt towards him and hugged his neck. Her voice was almost inaudible because of her crying. I said I don't care. Fool. I said I don't care. I love you. Sanqi. Their surroundings instantly went completely quiet. However, both Shu Sanqi and Jiang Nanan's bodies began to change. After a moment, they were less adolescent. They'd returned to their 20-year-old selves. The bed was still the same bed from 5 years ago. However, their bodies and hearts were wound tighter than they had been 5 years ago at this moment. He wasn't going to enter the wrong hole this time. The black glow that signified the evolution of his martial soul surfaced once again. Outside of their room, the golden sun and silver moon seemed to act together in a smile. A boundless prairie spread out before her. Jade green vines of blue silver grass swaying in the gentle breeze. As they swayed, they seemed to endlessly extend. When Jiang Lasun discovered herself in such a place, her eyes started to shine brightly. She had always loved this sort of boundless feeling. The endless green, the refreshing air, the bright sunlight, and the birds that occasionally flew by all left her in a pleasant mood. It was as if all her troubles were slowly slipping away, one breath at a time. Where is this? There was no such place on the continent in Jiang Lasun's memory, or at least, not that she knew of. If this place was real, she believed that she would have already fallen in love with this place. What is love? A dull voice echoed through the air. This voice seemed to resonate from all directions, even the sky, as it did so. What is love? Jiang Lisan was dazed as she lifted her head to peer into the sky. Afterwards, she gently shook her head. She'd never fallen in love. How could she know what love was? In her heart, there was only one person she was fond of. Love is about giving and devoting oneself. It's also about thoughtfulness and having no regard towards anything else. The loud voice suddenly became gentle, as if it was a gentle breeze sweeping across her, comforting her soul. Love is selfish, possessive, and present everywhere. It's also the root of much pain. However, we cannot live without love. A life without love is incomplete. Do you understand? Jiang Lisan laughed bitterly. I understand. However, how can I forget something deep within my bones? You'll forget everything as a reward. A gust of wind raged, causing leaves to billow upwards. Just like them, Jiang Lisan's spirits were also lifted into the air. Bitingly cold mountains and gusts of wind. Ning Tian tried to keep her balance as she let out a shriek of fear. She'd already broken out into a cold sweat. She was shocked to find that she appeared at the edge of a cliff, and that there was a deep valley in front of her. If she were to take even half a step forward, she'd disappear into the deep valley in front of her, never to return. There was a deep valley in front of her, but what about behind her? When she turned around, Ning Tian saw a bunch of mountains behind her. She was standing atop the peak of a mountain. Who are you? A deep voice echoed upwards from the valley. I'm Ning Tian. Ning Tian subconsciously replied. Who are you? The same question was posed to her again. I am Ning Tian from the Seven Treasures Blazed Sect. I'm the next sect leader of the sect. As she stood atop the piercingly cold mountain peak, Ning Tian felt that her emotions had gone out of control for some reason. Thus, she shouted as loud as she could without regard for anything else. Her voice echoed far and wide and through the mountain range. Even after a long time had passed, it hadn't completely faded. You are under too much pressure. The deep voice echoed again. Are you willing to relieve this pressure? How do I do so? Ning Tian asked agonizingly. Ever since she'd been young, she'd been the lone daughter of the Seven Treasures Blazed Sect master. The Seven Treasures Blazed Sect had once met with a catastrophe 10,000 years ago, and been almost completely destroyed. After 10,000 years of development, it had finally reestablished itself as the continent's top auxiliary type soul, and had once again become one of the strongest sects on the continent. However, Ning Tian had led a boring life as a direct female disciple. The only things she'd done throughout her life had been studying and cultivating. She then proceeded to enter Shrek Academy at the apex of this boring life. Originally, she'd been considered a chosen child of heaven, and had thought that she would be the best amongst those the same age as her. However, she soon came to know of Shrek Academy's golden generation. She met the unbeatable Wang Donga, the gifted Dai Huodin, Shiwan Yu, and finally Hua Yuao, the strangest person, who had twin martial souls, immense spiritual power, and even ultimate ice. As she continued to mingle with them, she realized that she wasn't nearly as outstanding as she thought. Even though she was still extremely outstanding, her limelight had been completely stolen by the others. It was evident how tormented she felt. She had once tried to cultivate even harder. However, her martial soul was an auxiliary type. It was the Seven Treasures Blazed Pagoda, which couldn't be used to fight directly. It was thus very difficult for her to cultivate. In fact, it was just as difficult for to cultivate as it was for Hua Yuao to cultivate his ultimate ice. No matter how hard she tried, it didn't change the fact that an auxiliary type soul master couldn't exceed a battle soul master. When she saw that Hua Yuao, Wang Donga, and Xia Xiao were crowned champions along with their inner courtyard seniors in the last Continental Elite Advanced Soul Master Academy tournament, Ning Tian hadn't just been filled with envy, she'd also been filled with jealousy. And following that, she'd suddenly like she couldn't possibly catch up to the rest of them, no matter how hard she tried. At that point, she thought of another possibility, which was the hope that her family had held for her. As a top-ranked auxiliary type sect, many strong soul masters often looked to the Seven Treasures Blazed Sect for help. As one of the elites of the younger generation of soul masters, Ning Tian knew that she'd have to find a protector that would stay by her side one day. This person's strength wouldn't simply determine her future status in the sect, and whether she could successfully take hold of the sect's reins, but it would also determine the future of the sect itself. That was why she'd chosen Hua Yuao during the Sea God's fate. She'd chosen him because he was the most gifted, as well as most likely to be the strongest individual amongst the younger generation of soul masters in the future. However, she hadn't expected to fail. She'd lost, and lost tragically at that. She'd been as embarrassed as a little girl when she'd taken the initiative to express her love, but had still been met with rejection. When that rejection came, it had felt as if her heart was stabbed by tens of thousands of blades. It was extremely painful. She didn't really like Hua Yuao very much. Rather, she just couldn't accept her failure. The blow dealt to her from this failure was simply too huge. For a period of time, she was completely despondent. At that point, only Wu Feng remained at her side. Wu Feng was angry with Hua Yuao, and cultivated even more tirelessly than her. Yet, even when Ning Tian saw all of this, she still only treated Wu Feng as a sister. You can relieve all your pressure by jumping off of this cliff. The deep voice echoed yet again. It was asking her to die. Ning Tian was dazed by the voice. Jump off. Everything will be settled if I just jump off. Yes. What could be better than death to alleviate this pressure? What could be more exciting than death? Death? She laughed. Bring it on. A sharp gaze flashed through Ning Tian's eyes. Before she pursed her lips, the huge pressure that she'd been facing was instantly converted into persistence that now drove her to leap off the cliff. With that, she flung herself off the edge in front of her. The moment that she leapt, she seemed to hear a tragic scream. No. Gusts of wind raged around her, becoming even colder as they swept past her. At this moment, Ning Tian felt as if her spirit had detached from her body. It was a magical feeling. The pressure she felt seemed to slowly disappear as she fell. I'm sorry, Wu Feng. If there's such a thing as another life, I'll become a man and will protect and take care of you. You'll be my wife. We'll run our family together, and I'll make sure to love and repay you for all of the love you've shown me all these years. Tears started to trail through the air above her. As they did, they formed bell-shaped beads in the air. Even though she was in free fall, Ning Tian realized that the voice had been right. The pressure that she'd felt seemed to have vanished. At this moment, nothing seemed important to her anymore. Wu Feng stood upon the mountain peak, gazing down at the deep valley that Ning Tian had disappeared into. As she stared into the endless drifts of snow, her tears started to flow uncontrollably. Ning Tian, why? Why did you do this? Why did you jump off the cliff? Why? She'd appeared on the other side of the mountain, and had then been given instructions to walk around. Right when she'd been about to arrive, she'd been greeted with the scene of Ning Tian leaping off the cliff. No matter how hard she tried, she hadn't been able to make it in time. She could only watch as Ning Tian disappeared into the valley below. Everything seemed to lose importance when she saw that. Wu Feng seemed to have lost her soul. She staggered, about to fall. Follow her. If you really love her, you should seek a new life with her. The voice echoed through the mountain valley. Wu Feng was shocked. She looked at the deep valley before her, before lifting her head to gaze at the sky and wail, Ning Tian, I'm coming. Yes, since the person she loved was already gone, what was the point of her staying alive? The projection of a fire dragon grew behind her. This projection carried a sense of elegance and passion, before disappearing along with Wu Feng as she leapt off the cliff in pain and tears. Everything became silent and peaceful again afterwards. The mountain still as bitingly cold as ever. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.